Somewhere in the Caribbean, beneath 400 feet of water, a Cold War-era submarine powered down its engines. Inside, 52 men held their breath. The target? The USS Gerald R. Ford, the most advanced aircraft carrier ever built. The mission? Impossible. The outcome? Inevitable. What happened next wasn't a battle. It was a countdown. This is the story of how Caracas just made the worst tactical decision in modern naval history, and why attacking a US carrier isn't an act of war. It's an act of suicide. Let's rewind. Venezuela wasn't always like this. There was a time, not so long ago, when Caracas had ambitions. Real ambitions. They looked at Brazil's blue water navy, at Argentina's submarine fleet, at Chile's modern frigates, and they wanted the same. They wanted to be a regional power, a force that commanded respect in the Caribbean and beyond. In the 1970s and 80s, flush with oil revenue, Venezuela went shopping. They bought submarines from Germany and Italy, frigates from Spain. They trained their officers in the United States and Europe. They built naval bases along the coast and dreamed of patrol zones stretching from Trinidad to the Panama Canal. For a brief moment, they had a navy that mattered. But dreams don't fund maintenance. Oil money does. And when the oil economy collapsed, when corruption, mismanagement, and sanctions gutted the national budget, the dream rusted away in port. By the time this incident unfolded, Venezuela's submarine fleet had been reduced to a single operational boat, a Project 641 Foxtrot-class diesel-electric submarine built by the Soviet Union in 1976, 50 years old. Loud, slow, obsolete. The kind of submarine that modern navies use as target practice. But in Caracas, desperation breeds delusion. Tensions with the United States had been escalating for months. Economic sanctions strangled imports. Political isolation turned the regime inward. And then the rhetoric escalated. Threats, posturing, promises of retaliation. And then came the provocation. The USS Gerald R. Ford, all 100,000 tons of American naval supremacy, was conducting freedom of navigation operations just outside Venezuelan territorial waters. It wasn't hidden, it wasn't subtle, it was a statement. We go where we want, when we want, and you can't stop us. Someone in the Venezuelan high command saw an opportunity, a gamble, a way to prove the world was wrong about them, a way to show that even a struggling nation could bloody the nose of an empire. They ordered the submarine to sea. They armed it with torpedoes. They gave the captain a mission: track the carrier, get close, show the Americans they're not untouchable. What they didn't give him was the truth. They didn't tell him that his submarine had been obsolete for 30 years, that his sonar was older than most of his crew, that the US Navy had been perfecting anti-submarine warfare for 70 years, and that every lesson learned, every innovation, every technological leap forward had one purpose: to make sure nothing gets close to an American carrier. The captain believed he was on a bold mission. He wasn't. He was sailing into a kill box, and the Americans were already watching. Here's what the Venezuelan crew believed. If they stayed quiet, stayed deep, and timed it perfectly, they could slip within torpedo range of the USS Gerald R. Ford undetected. Fire, vanish, make history. Here's what they didn't know. They'd been tracked since the moment they left port. The United States Navy doesn't just protect its carriers. It wraps them in layers of detection so sophisticated, so interconnected, that nothing, not a submarine, not a surface raider, not even a rogue fishing trawler, gets within 200 nautical miles without being cataloged, analyzed, and neutralized. This is called network-centric warfare, and it starts long before you see a ship. Layer 1. Space-based intelligence satellites tracked the Foxtrot's departure from La Guaira Naval Base. Infrared sensors noted the heat signature. Synthetic aperture radar mapped its course. Within minutes, the submarine's position was uploaded to the Tactical Ocean Surveillance System and shared across the entire strike group. Layer 2. Underwater surveillance. The Caribbean is wired. The Sound Surveillance System, SOSUS, is a Cold War relic that never retired. Thousands of hydrophones blanket the ocean floor, listening, always listening. When the Foxtrot submerged, it didn't disappear. It announced itself. Diesel engines, hull vibrations, propeller cavitation, every sound is a signature, and SOSUS caught it all. Layer 3, the hunter-killers. 2 Los Angeles-class fast-attack submarines were already in the area, silent, invisible, lethal. They didn't need to see the Foxtrot. They could hear it from 50 miles away, and they closed in. Inside the Foxtrot, the captain believed he was hunting. He wasn't. He was being herded. US Navy doctrine doesn't just neutralize threats, it controls them. The goal isn't destruction, it's dominance. You let the enemy think they have a chance, just long enough to study their tactics, their intentions, their breaking point, and then you make them realize they never had one. The captain ordered silent running, no engines, no unnecessary movement. The crew whispered, the boat drifted like a ghost, but ghosts can't hide from physics. A P-8, Poseidon Maritime Patrol aircraft passed overhead, dropping sonobuoys in a calculated grid. Each buoy listened. Each buoy reported. The Foxtrot's position updated in real time. Below, an American submarine matched its depth, its speed, its heading, staying just outside detection range, shadowing, waiting. The Venezuelan captain thought he was 40 miles from the carrier. He was, but he was also 2,000 yards from an American submarine with weapons hot. And then it happened. The Foxtrot's sonar operator heard it. A faint, rhythmic pulse. Active sonar. Close. Too close. The captain froze. His blood went cold. Active sonar means one thing. They know you're here. In the Combat Information Center aboard the USS Gerald R. 100 miles away, a tactical officer watched a digital map. Red icon, hostile submarine. Blue icons, 2 U.S. attack subs, 1 destroyer, 1 P-8 overhead. The Venezuelan boat was boxed in. The American submarine commander sent a single encrypted message to Fleet Command. Target locked. Request permission to engage. 90 seconds passed. 90 seconds where the Venezuelan captain realized his mistake, where his sonar screamed warnings, where his weapons officer asked if they should fire. 90 seconds where the United States decided whether this would be a warning or a grave. And then the response came. Negative. Surface target. Transmit warning. The American submarine activated a low-frequency underwater telephone, a direct acoustic link. The message was in Spanish. The tone was calm. The meaning was absolute. Venezuelan submarine. You are detected. You are targeted. Surface immediately or you will be engaged. The Foxtrot captain stared at his instruments. His torpedoes were loaded. He could fire. He could try. But he knew. He gave the order. Blow all ballast tanks. Emergency surface. The submarine breached the surface like a wounded whale. Within minutes, a U.S. Navy helicopter was overhead. A destroyer altered course, closing to visual range. The Foxtrot sat on the surface, engines dead, crew lined up on deck. No shots fired, no casualties. But the message was sent. The Venezuelan crew was escorted back to port under surveillance. Diplomatic cables flew. Caracas denied everything. Washington said nothing publicly, but shared the encounter details with every allied navy in the hemisphere. The submarine never went to sea again. Let's be clear, this wasn't a close call. It was a demonstration. The idea that a 1970s diesel submarine could threaten a modern US carrier strike group isn't strategy, it's fantasy. Here's why. 1. Detection is instantaneous. Modern ASW networks are so sensitive, they can detect a submarine snorkeling from space. The Foxtrot was never invisible. 2. Speed and stealth aren't enough. Even if the Foxtrot had closed to torpedo range, its weapons are unguided, slow, and short range. The Ford's escorts carry anti-torpedo countermeasures. The torpedoes would have been decoyed or destroyed. 3. The kill chain is automated. From detection to targeting to engagement authorization, the entire process can happen in under 3 minutes. Human decision-making is the slowest part, and that's intentional. It's not about speed, it's about control. 4. Retaliation is overwhelming. If that submarine had fired, it wouldn't have hit anything, but the response would have been instantaneous and total. Torpedoes, depth charges, and air-launched munitions would have converged on its position within seconds. There's no escape, no second chance. This is why no nation has successfully attacked a US carrier in combat since World War II. It's not luck, it's physics, doctrine, and overwhelming technological dominance. So what was the point? Why did Venezuela risk everything for a gesture that was doomed from the start? Because in geopolitics, perception matters. Desperation demands action, even when action is futile. The captain of that submarine wasn't trying to win. He was trying to prove his nation still mattered. But the ocean doesn't care about pride, and the US Navy doesn't negotiate with threats. It neutralizes them. What happened in those 90 seconds wasn't a standoff. It was a reminder, a lesson written in sonar pulses and encrypted radio traffic. You cannot fight what you cannot see. You cannot hide from what already knows where you are. And you cannot win a war that was over before it started. The Cold War submarine that once symbolized Soviet power surfaced that day as a relic, a warning, and somewhere, deep beneath the waves, an American submarine slipped away, silent, unseen, and waiting for the next captain who forgets that lesson. Because there will always be a next one. If you enjoyed this deep dive into modern naval operations, make sure to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a new episode. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay sharp.